Welcome, Chatham, to the June 4th, 2024 meeting of the Chatham Select Board. Please note, this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chair. Seeing none, I'll proceed. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29, 2023 signing of the Acts of 2023, extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, until March 31, 2025, this meeting of the Chatham Select Board is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410, conference ID 203-386-491, #, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, Xfinity Channel 1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. With that, we'll establish a quorum. Select Board Member Metters.
Present.
Select Board Member Dyken.
Present.
Select Board Member Davis.
Present.
And Select Board Member Shell is present. This evening, our agenda consists of one set of minutes, May 28th, public announcements and agenda requests. We have one public hearing regarding a change of the manager for alcohol at the Squire. We have two committee board commission updates, one from the Energy, Climate, and Action Committee from Mr. Wirtschafter, who has a PowerPoint presentation he will present to us. We also have a presentation from the chair of the Summer Residence Advisory Committee regarding priorities for the SRAC to review during 2024. Then we will have public comments on the business agenda, and the business agenda consists of 6 items, an application for the use of town property on Oyster Pond Beach for swimming lessons, an application for a one-day entertainment license from the Chatham Marconi Maritime Center, a policy regarding the disposition of deceased marine mammals from Mr. Rob Faley, the Director of Public Works. We will consider a recommendation for a School Street crosswalk from the Traffic Safety Committee and specifically Mr. Lieutenant Andrew Goddard. And we will have one appointment to the Human Services Committee, and finally, the town manager's report. So with that, I will turn to the minutes. Are there any comments from the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes for May 28th.
Second.
Okay, I just have one suggestion with respect to those minutes, and that is if Mr. Rob Brennan's presentation is available. It was fairly comprehensive and detailed, and I think it would be useful to have that appended to the minutes, if you have it. With that, I'll take a vote. Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Dykens?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
And Mr. Shell says aye. The minutes are approved. Public announcements and agenda requests. Any from the board? Yes, ma'am. I bet you're Anna Milan.
That's correct. I am.
Welcome. Nice
Thank
to
you,
see you.
Mr. Chair. My name is Anna Milan. I am the Programs and Communications Coordinator at the Chatham Council on Aging. It's my pleasure to extend an invitation to you all in celebrating the Council on Aging's 50th anniversary. This milestone is not just a reflection of the years gone by, but a testament to the dedication, care, and support that our community has shown towards our seniors. To mark this special occasion, we will be hosting an open house event this Thursday, June 6th, from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Center for Active Living. We will have refreshments, information about our current services and offerings, as well as a historical exhibit outlining the past 50 years of support and service provided to our senior community members. Please join us in this joyous celebration as we honor the past, celebrate the present, and look towards a bright future together. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. Any other public announcements and/or agenda requests? I don't see any here in the room. Any online?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Stephen Buckley.
Mr. Buckley.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Mr. Buckley,
Yes. Can you hear me?
we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, I guess this is somewhat related to the Summer Residence Advisory Committee, SRAC, I guess, is AKA SRAC. The 3 years ago, during the summer town meeting, SRAC member Phil Richardson gave a presentation about the concept drawing for medium density housing, let's say, for a concept design, and without any particular location in mind, just 1 square acre. And anyway, he has just a few days ago come up with 2 concept drawings using the same architect for the former Buckley property. And they're available online at openchatham.com. So if people go there and look for concept drawings, they will see the 2 there, and I just wanted to make that available. So in anticipation of other concept proposals for that property, more choices, the better. I just wanted to make that public announcement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Buckley. Any others? Okay, we'll move on to public hearings, and if the clerk would be so kind as to read the public hearing announcement.
Thank you,
Notice.
Mr. Chair. Town of Chatham Select Board Public Hearing Notice. Notice is hereby given that the Chatham Select Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 4th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. in the large meeting room at the Town Office Annex 261 George Ryder Road, Chatham, and remotely via Microsoft Teams platform to consider a request for a change of manager from Drury McMullen to Shannon Neal on the annual all alcohol beverages restaurant license for One Drop Operating LLC, doing business as the Chatham Squire, 489 Main Street. All interested parties are encouraged to participate. Sign the Select Board.
Thank you. Do we have a proponent or a representative of the applicant? Shh. Is anybody on?
Yes, you do.
Hello?
We're on. Hello, Mike. This is Todd Hurl. We're online.
Oh, all right, that's fine.
If you could just bring up the camera.
It's desirable, but not required that you be on camera.
Okay. Well, I mean, let me hand the phone then to Shannon Neal, and she can take it from here.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Shannon.
Can you give us just a little presentation on the application for the change of manager?
Yeah, sure. This is Todd. We're changing. We think Shannon's probably a better fit, and so we're changing it from Drew to Shannon. Is basically the long and short of it.
Okay. Do you have any comment, Shannon Neely? Neil, sorry. No? So then I'll open it up for public comment.
No, I don't really have any further comment. We've had a lot of discussion regarding this, and we all feel that it's a better fit for the establishment as a whole for me to be on the license as well as manager.
Thank you. Any comment from the public? Move to close them?
I have a question.
Oh, you have a question. I'm sorry. Please, go ahead. Sorry.
Hi, Shannon, it's Shireen. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. I was just looking at the application, and it's just a matter of clarification on your employment information. It doesn't list that you are actually working at the Squire, but I'm assuming that's just that from 2020 to 2024 that you've been in position at the Squire. Is that what I'm understanding?
That's correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make that clear for everybody in the public so that they knew that.
Jeff?
So Shannon, what is your current position at the Chatham Squire?
Currently, I am a split position. I'm doing the finance here as well as floor management.
So you're going to go from there to be the overall manager of the establishment?
Yeah, I will be the manager on the liquor license, not the general manager, but I'm in upper management here, yes.
That was my question. Is McMullen still the general manager?
No, sorry. This is Todd. No, I mean the general man. I mean this is like I think I don't know exactly what the nomenclature works, how it works, but we have 5 or 6 managers.
Okay.
Okay. Shannon is in the in terms of the general man, I would say Shannon is the general manager. Right, she's here most of the time, and manages it, from a very high level. So, if you're asking for who the general manager is, it's Shannon Neal.
Okay. So, other than transfers of licenses, if one had a question about operations, who would they approach?
Shannon Neal.
Thank you.
Good, Corey?
Hey, Shannon, it's Corey. How you doing?
Hey, Corey, I'm good.
Good. I'll make this
How are
easy.
you?
I'll make this easy. So I know one of the elements of the managerial position is, from at least from the town's perspective, is the hours spent on site and the availability and approachingness of the position. And as far as my knowledge goes, and I want this confirmed, your hours on premises will be you probably maintain the same hours as you presently do, which has been fairly high. So, I mean, that element of being on site for any questions, concerns, or someone needs to approach you on behalf of concerns on the establishment, you will be maintaining those type of availabilities, correct?
Absolutely, yes. And that's been the case regardless of me being the manager on the liquor license or not for the past couple of years.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Do we want to move?
Move approval?
Do we close the public
Close the
hearing
hearing,
first?
yeah. I move to close the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor? Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Dykens?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye.
Move approval?
Second.
All those in favor? Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Dykens?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
And Mr. Shell says aye. Thank you very much, Todd and Shannon.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Committee, board, and commission updates. Mr. Wirtschafter, I think, is first up for the ECAC.
Good evening. I'm Bob Wirtschafter. I'm the chair of the Chatham Energy and Climate Action Committee. and we're giving you today our annual update. I just wanted to remind the board and the public that the old Energy Committee is now Climate Action, and we have some additional charges in addition to the energy ones that were there before. We now have an education outreach for Chatham citizens, formulate and advance mitigation and adaptation strategies, and educate and engage residents and businesses on expected climate change hazards and impacts and mitigation opportunities. And what we're doing is in response to those charges. We came to you about a year ago with a roadmap in which we had designated 6 areas of concentration for our committee over the next couple years. These are the 6 areas. I'm going to go into each of them in detail, so I don't have to mention them here to you now. I also wanted to make it clear that we see our responsibility in reaching out to the entire community, and that best way to do that is to engage ourselves in as many of those committees and activities as we can. This is the coverage that we have now for the current board members. I continue to encourage the other members of my committee to also be on additional committees or volunteer organizations. And I think it brings a broader understanding of the issues that this town faces in addressing energy and climate action. So let me turn to the first area of those 6, preserving salt marshes. We jumped on this one as our priority because of the extreme danger that our salt marshes face. One foot of sea level rise would basically inundate all of our existing salt marshes. The salt marshes are a critical part of the Chatham economic and ecological well-being. They're where all our fish come from. They filter a lot of the pollutants that we put out, and so we need to do our best to try and keep them thriving. We have worked closely with Pleasant Bay Alliance, and they've done a really good job in modeling how to deal with climate change for a salt marsh area. They've done some studies and they've done analysis, and they're beginning to do some restoration initiatives. So we're following that. But we recognize that the rest of the town really didn't have that capability, didn't have the analysis that was being done in Pleasant Bay. So we initiated a study through the Community Action, whatever, CAC, to look at the condition of our southern salt marshes. That study, the salt marsh study, was to collect data needed to predict the future of the 4 major salt marshes that are on Nantucket Sound, and to guide possible preservation strategies in the face of climate change. We began the idea proposed to the Community Preservation Act in 2022. We got approval in May 2023 from the town meeting. We posted an RFP. We now have a signed agreement with Center for Coastal Studies, and they began their work in April. Their focus is to do some high-level evaluation contour mapping of the floodplain around the 4 marshes, including ground level, sea floor, vegetation. You're going to see some drones flying through. You're going to see some people taking measurements in those areas. We're looking at sedimentation accrual rates. We're trying to look at that from a historic and current level, and we're trying to predict where those salt marshes are going to go with sea level rise, and where we can possibly preserve areas for those sea marshes to migrate to. We will have a public study for you probably at the end of this year. Our energy saving and solar production, that was our backbone of the work that we've been doing over the last 10 years that I've been on the committee. Last year alone, the solar project saved the town $500,000. Over the life of the solar projects, that there are, I'm guessing, and it's one of our goals this year is to quantify this more clearly, but we've probably saved $2.5 million so far to the town from solar. In addition, we have a LED streetlight replacement that we did. That's saved over $200,000, and more importantly, it's reduced the maintenance requirements of somebody having to change lamps that burn out every year, and none of them are burned out. So there's a major additional savings in town maintenance. We've done a considerable number of energy audits, replaced all of the inefficient lighting in the town. I would estimate that's probably will save the town a couple $1 million over the life of the projects that we've done so far. That's what we've done. What we have in the future is we have a solar ready to go into the community center. It's waiting for the battery. It's very close to being connected. We're supposed to have another project here at the annex in the police parking lot. It proved to not be economic right now, so we're going to have to revisit that. But we're working with CVEC to identify new solar opportunities for the town. We still have some capacity. We can do another probably 20% of our electric load could be replaced with solar. So we're looking at our own buildings. We're also looking at off-taking other properties and other projects across the Cape. We, as part of our responsibility, we look at new buildings that are being built, municipal buildings, and try to provide, working with Cape Light Compact, zero energy advice so that our new buildings don't consume the energy that the old ones did. We're looking really forward to the new energy coordinator. I think that's a great opportunity. It's one of the best ideas I've heard of sharing someone with that expertise across 4 towns. And we've already done a really, I think we've been successful in convincing the town to replace their gas-powered lawn and landscaping equipment. There's already 2 electric mowers, and pretty much we've gotten a verbal commitment that everything else that they buy from now on to replace dying equipment will be electric. The third area is to optimize Chatham's transportation infrastructure. The less driving that is done in Chatham or in getting to Chatham, the better we mitigate our greenhouse gas effects. So we passed a bylaw that requires the town to purchase electric vehicles whenever they're a viable alternative. The town has 5, maybe has 6 electric vehicles right now, but it hasn't bought one in a while, and it turns out because every time the town needs a new vehicle, it's an emergency, and it's hard to get that planning to go electric. So we have taken a different approach of sort of anticipating what vehicles are going to be needed and working with the town to identify models that are appropriate and that can be purchased immediately. So the next time that a vehicle is needed, there's a better chance it will be an electric vehicle. We help the town staff identify the priorities for the low-lying road study that was done and picking the areas of future study that the Cape Cod Commission is doing. And we've been encouraging and monitoring charging stations. We now have a charging station here at the annex for municipal use, but the first public stations are supposed to go in this summer at Eldridge Garage. We're very pleased about that. We're a little disappointed that the airport proposal was turned down at the town meeting, but we want to really push to find another location, use all the expertise and the footwork that was done in putting that proposal together and going forward with another. Most of my committee thinks the community center is a good place to put our next set of electric chargings, but it's also possible at the schools, but that presents another layer of bureaucracy that we have to work through. So I'm recommending that at some point you give us the go-ahead to really push to do the community center. Communication, our fourth area, is an important one. There are so many complicated issues in the town, and they need addressing both on a local level and a Cape-wide level. And there are really fortunate that there are an awful lot of organizations doing a lot of awfully good work on these issues, but there's no coordination. And so we're seeing this is the year that we're going to really tackle that communication and try to build better structure for communication. We see three areas. We met with the building commissioner at our last month's meeting to find out how the town was doing with the new building code. And it turns out that there hasn't been much work done. It's not really going to go into effect here until probably the end of the year. And there was a understanding from the building commissioner that training would be very helpful to him, to the builders, to everyone. So we've approached the Cape Light Compact to talk about having more building code training over the next 6 months to bring the town up to speed. We're worked with the Cape Light Compact and Town Communication Director. We're going to be doing more of this to increase the participation of Mass Save. It's a little embarrassing for me as the regulator for Mass Save to be in one of the towns that has the lowest participation rate in the state. I recognize that a lot of that has to do with non-residents who don't think they qualify or aren't here long enough in the year to know that. So I'm going to put a little plug into the next speaker to put that on your committee agenda, that you get the word out to the non-residents that they are eligible. They pay the electric and gas bills. That makes them eligible to get the low cost, no cost incentives for insulation. Please call Mass Save. The third area is the most important, and we're working with the Cape Cod Climate Change Collaborative, Cape Cod Commission, and the Chatham Climate Action Network. And we're trying to develop a Chatham Climate Action Plan. That the Chatham Climate Action Network is leading that, but we're providing a lot of committee support. We're also they're looking to develop a climate calendar that everyone can go to know when the events are occurring, to be able to have that an easy, quick way to know that somebody's speaking here or this committee is meeting now. And so look for those areas to be available in the next 6 months here. And we hope to improve all kinds of communication links between all the different groups and all the different committees in the town. Our fifth area is to enact bylaws and regulations. We've done 4 of them. We've passed the Declaration of Climate Emergency, an energy efficiency and town procurement of motor vehicles, I mentioned that, an energy efficiency and town procurement of design services for capital facility projects. We expected the buildings, and the next building to come forward is probably the one at the transfer station, that we will be working with them to make sure that it at least considers the economics of going net zero. And the fourth area that we've done was vote for the approval of the energy stretch code. In the future, the next couple bylaws, well, first of all, we're going to make sure that the town does its best to implement each of those bylaws. And then we're going to also be looking at a coastal floodplain bylaw with the Conservation Committee, and stormwater management is part of the planning board. Finally, the last area, the one that we've done the least on, that may have the most jeopardy now, is to protect groundwater and quality and quantity. The rising groundwater, if it is a real concern for incursion into our septic systems. And it could happen a lot faster than we thought it was. And essentially our sewage treatment plan over 20 years may not be fast enough to save us from some incursion. So we're going to be looking at that very closely and trying to make sure that the towns reconcile this threat with the current plans for how fast we build our sewers. There is also issues with PFAS and pond health. Those will probably be less of our committee, but we will, obviously, they are big issues for the town and climate. We did help support the tree bylaws, and those will help in terms of protecting groundwater as a first step. We're also looking at, over the next year, that individuals on the committee want to look at our solid waste redirection. To what degree is the trash that we think are being recycled? Water quality, PFAS, and continue monitoring sewer construction schedule and priorities. Finally, we don't have enough to do, but there's two very large studies coming forward that the town is doing, and that we want to make sure that we have looked at those from a climate perspective. And those are the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Study and the Hazard Mitigation Plan. And they may not be over right away in the next year, but they're going to be started and considered in our next year's work. So we got a lot to do. We've got a very active committee. We've got great support now with Greg and Terry, both helping us and being at all our committee meetings. That's my presentation.
Thank you very much. You've got a lot on your plate. That's really a huge agenda, to be commended. Thoughts from the board?
Well, first of all, thank you very much. That was a very complete presentation. I applaud the work you're putting forward. It's a lot of effort, and while I know you're fully aware of this element of it, the public outreach, educational component type of element is going to be critical to all components of the actions you're looking to move forward. So I just encourage the group to push forward, and I wish you guys the best of luck, because it's a lot of time and effort that's going to be needed to put into these efforts. They're not going to be lightly taken overnight. It's going to take time, effort, and educational components. So I wish you guys the best of luck in your efforts.
Cherie?
Bob, thank you very much. It's all so interesting, and every single piece of it is important to our health and wellness as a community, obviously. I support everything you're doing. I think it's fantastic. One of the things, though, I do have to ask is, from a staff's perspective, the realistic expectations of, our capacity to be able to support all the good work you want to do. I mean, that's probably a question for our town manager, just to be realistic about what those expectations are.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, so Much of the work is initiated by staff, believe it or not. So we do rely on the committee to provide us guidance on how to accomplish our climate action needs. But I mean, we certainly have rock stars on staff with Greg Berman and Terry before him, and we've done a lot, on our own to become the green community and to seek grants. We've more than $2 million in grants for the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program, and our staff is leading the hazard mitigation plan. So I think the good thing is we're definitely on the same page as the committee. It's a priority for me as well as most employees in town. We all came to work for a town that was progressive with ways to address climate issues and coastal resources. So I really appreciate the work of the committee, and their expertise is very helpful for us.
That's helpful. That's helpful to hear because, I mean, we are such a vulnerable community, and this is a priority for all of us. Thank you. Thank you.
So I just have one question. I can't remember whether it was here or in the committee, but I do remember a discussion more or less a year ago of the challenge. You've broadened the remit of the committee, and you have a number of different both people and segments of the committee's focus. That there was some conversation about how does that stay coordinated? How do you integrate the work that's being done in the various segments of the committee? And I wonder if that continues to be a subject of conversation, or you feel you've made progress there, or what the status of that is.
Well, I think you should probably ask the committee members and not me. I probably haven't done as good a job as I would like in motivating and getting ready for, being ready and moving forward. It's the same stretching of time that the town itself has. But I think we've got a committee that people are taking the responsibilities for different portions of it and moving forward, and those areas are the ones that we're making progress on. So some of these areas that we haven't done as well is more because we don't have somebody that's willing to take the time and effort and has the time, and everybody wants to take the time and effort, but realistically doesn't have that much time to do. So we are not going to solve the issues. We have to, and we do understand that it is the town and the staff that we have to help and not get in the way of, to make sure that these things do get done. So.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, please, Jeff.
Thanks, Mike. And Bob, great presentation. I'm 100% supportive of every one of those 6 initiatives, and I'm fascinated by your work. I echo some concern that Select Board Member Davis expressed about, your agenda is broad and deep, and so resources, I think become important. And I think maybe if we take it at bite-sized pieces for our work here, if you can come back with some bite-sized pieces. Number one, I'd be very interested in charging stations at the community center. I think that is a good location. I don't want to hear the pros and cons from others, but if I had to vote, I would say that's a good location for charging stations. I think we should have a vested interest as a town in expanding the use of EVs and offering charging stations to residents and visitors alike. I also loved your shameless plug to the SRAC. I think it's absolutely perfect for them to know that Mass Save is an option for them. I think you're right. I think residents might lean into that more than non-residents. I think it's very important that they know that that's an option for them. I've used the services of Mass Save, and they're phenomenal. And I plugged it shamelessly here many, many times. So I think for folks to use Mass Save, it's a great resource. And then I would like to see more specific data, and even a mini report on this rising groundwater incursion. That got my attention immediately. And I'd like to know how much more of a threat that is or isn't, and get some data around it. I'd just like to see some data.
Great.
So anyway, thank you very much for your interest. Folks know you're a member of the planning board as well, and you're an incredibly valuable member of this community, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Have a good evening.
If I may, I know you're aware of it, but and you were away, but we had a presentation last week from the Mass Housing and Innovation Center, which is a relatively new startup. We went ahead and agreed to sign up, subscribe as a member of that. It's a climate effort, innovation effort. And I just hope that you'll take note of that and do what you can as a committee to liaise with that effort.
Okay. I had told you that I would help.
Yes, I know you did, and I appreciate that.
It sort of brings back my, I haven't been on an advisory committee for a PhD in 20 years, and I sort of welcome
Good.
that kind
Well,
of support.
we've got a candidate for you,
right,
so
great.
thank you very much. Thanks for everything and thanks to the committee. I see we have members of the committee spread out in various places as observers. Appreciate all you're doing to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is public comments on the business. Oh, forgive me, I'm jumping ahead, forgive me, thank you. Summer residents, Mr. Spalter. Are you here in the room or are you online?
I am online.
Okay, welcome. My apologies.
Oh, that's quite all right. It's good to be here. Hey, we really appreciate the opportunity to meet with you all this evening. This is my first year as the SRAC chair, replacing Jamie Meehan, who did just a great job the last few years leading us. And other than a kickoff meeting a couple weeks ago, the committee hasn't done much work yet. We had this initial meeting just to get some early thoughts on priorities. And what we're doing is looking forward to hearing from you all what your thoughts were on some of the priorities and things that you were interested in us focusing our attention on. We have several members from our committee online this evening as well, so there's a lot of interest in getting your thoughts. And I guess one of the first things I can say is, as it comes to Mass Save, when we have our Summertown meeting, that could be a great opportunity to share that information with some of the summer residents.
You're waiting to hear from us.
Yeah, my understanding is you all had some thoughts on what we could, some thoughts on priorities for the SRAC this year.
Okay, oh no, Shireen, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Spalter. Thank you very much. Can I call you Jeff? Is it okay?
Sure.
Okay. Hi, Jeff.
That'd be great.
So I look at your committee a little differently in like how it's formatted for informing us down the road as an advisory. I think I might have mentioned this a couple of times, maybe I've just verbalized it to, a handful of people, but I would, as a committee, I would be interested as a select board member to hear from your committee, from your, you hear from your constituents through your committee, what some of the things that they want to hear or they want answers about. The summer residents are here for a short period of time. We'd really love to know, get our finger on the pulse of what they're interested in finding out, or where they have concerns. That to me would inform us better than us giving you a laundry list of tasks to go sort through, and give your perspective on. I think for me that just makes more sense. I'm open to however you're going to do it. Obviously, it's been done a certain way for a long time, but I would just want to throw that out there as an alternative to coming to us before, to get information and then go back out. So that's where I am. Okay.
Thanks,
No,
Jeff.
I appreciate that, and that's absolutely fine. Our communications committee did a survey last year to gather some input, and that was pretty well received. And at the one meeting that we did have earlier, we did come up with a list of some early priorities. Again, we didn't know if you wanted to shape it or you had any other thoughts. But if you'd like, I can share with you some of the early, the early leading contenders for our focus this year, if you like.
Sure.
So the first few were talking about water availability and the sewer project. There was a lot of interest in some of the major capital projects and the long-term financing and affordability. Affordable housing continues to be an area of interest. Some of the waterway issues, especially the moorings, and I know we have a new harbor master, so we hope to connect with him. Some interest in some of the short-term rental regulations, and then just doing a better job of helping to bridge the communications between the select board and the town management and the summer residents, looking for a better way to do that. So those are some of the early items that we had put together.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that communication and outreach is a really important factor to your work, to inform us and to inform yourself. I think that that's a real priority that I see. I don't know if you'd be, consider in the future maybe doing your annual meeting up front of the season with everybody and listening to the folks in the room to see what they want to hear, and then having a follow-up at the end of the summer as a way to be able to sort of, I guess what I want to know is, we have a population of people that live here, and we don't really know a lot about them. You guys are a highly engaged committee that has, that are really, involved in the day-to-day sort of workings or the workings of the town, and you're showing your interest. I'm just wondering about the rest of the folks and what they're thinking and where they're coming and what are their priorities, and are they aware of some of the things that are happening in the town, like affordable housing and workforce issues that are going on, and some of the community needs that we are addressing or trying to face about health and wellness and food security, housing security, and things like that. I think that would help us a lot in getting a better perspective of engaging the entire community holistically, and considering that the summer residents are part of the tax-paying system and have a vested interest in the community, and to that we have a better sort of communications sort of back and forth about those important issues. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, appreciate that.
Jeff?
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Hi, Jeff. Congratulations on being named chair this year. Looking forward to
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to working with you. I view SRAC as the lens of through which we get a glimpse into the how we can work together to improve the overall quality of life for residents and non-residents alike. And I look at SRAC as a resource-intense committee. You have lawyers, you have business people, you have financiers, you have developers, you have a lot of smart people on educators. You have a lot of smart people on that committee, and I look at it as a resource to be for input and for advice. And those issues that I would be looking for advice was from the non-residents' perspective, especially on our water and our sewer hookups. What can we do better to accelerate the number of hookups we have in town, and how might we best finance those hookups? It's been suggested that betterments might be an approach, and I think it may be a viable approach, but what would your thoughts be on betterments to allow folks to hook up with greater alacrity than we've experienced in the past? And then an overall water quality. We're tackling water in a bunch of different fronts, I should say. We've charged the Water and Sewer Advisory Committee with an overall master plan for water in Chatham. If you've got any hydrologists, engineers, et cetera, on your committee, love to hear their thoughts on an overall. That's a huge charge, and it's a major issue here, if not arguably the number one issue. And then housing, of course, is the other major issue that we're struggling with. We're not struggling with, we're addressing, but are in midst of addressing. So those are my main, asks, if you will, of SRAC. And you guys have a small, kind of a tight window to address some fairly significant issues. So I think it may behoove you, my advice would be, it behoove you to kind of narrow your focus and really focus on 2 or 3 things you think you can do well, and supply us with some input and some good advice. So those are my thoughts, Jeff, and I wish you well. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much.
Corey?
Hey, Jeff, how you doing tonight?
Good, Corey.
I'll start with, the biggest topic in my mind, and I don't care if we're year-round, summer resident, visitor, is water quality and quantity. So as many eyes as we can put on that topic and thoughts and considerations of how we protect our water system, infrastructure, et cetera, I think that would be a good starting topic, in my opinion. Certainly would welcome input on, municipal projects, affordable housing, all the previously mentioned issues. The one thing that hasn't been brought up yet, and I would really appreciate the summer residents to maybe at least spend a little bit of time and weigh in, is the topic of protection of waterfront access for all our community. That seems to be a topic that's grown. There's been certain concerns being shared and thoughts about how we maintain our access to our waterfront and to enjoy it for both recreational and commercial needs, et cetera. So any comments that the Summer Residence Advisory Committee would like to share on that would be welcome from my behalf. So, you only have so much time to put into this, so we can't put a laundry list that is too long, as was previously mentioned. But I think we've kind of hit certain topics that we would all appreciate some thoughts and shared opinions. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
I don't really have anything to add to all of that. Without any scripting, I from my colleagues, I've heard pretty much everything that I was thinking about saying if asked tonight. I would say the two things I would emphasize are, one, that I'd reemphasize Jeff's point about the resources that reside in the summer residence, not only your committee, but summer residents as a whole. And two, that there are a number of issues that we share in common, and they've just been pretty much identified, whether it's sewer hookups or water quality, water availability, et cetera. Would be two good examples. But in terms of the ability to get services in that short time that people are here in the summer or maybe a little bit longer, that relates directly to the housing issue. So I agree with Shireen. We'd like to hear from you the things that are top of mind and top of interest. But at the same time, to the extent that you can marshal some quality thinking and analysis of the issues that we share, and share that input with us, that would be extremely welcome. So thanks very much for your presentation this evening.
Yeah, great, thank you. There's one area, just picking up on the comments here, that could be very helpful to us. And that is maybe taking another look at our understanding of how the open meeting laws relate to the subcommittee structure that we have. And obviously the SRAC has to meet the open meeting laws without question. The subcommittees don't have any decision-making authority or whatnot. They just come up and make recommendations to the SRAC. And the fact that the subcommittees have to schedule meetings and have an agenda and meet that administrative burden does put a burden on us and how much we can actually accomplish. So if there's some way to relook at that, that would be very helpful.
I think the best thing we can do is take that under advisement and say that we will work with you to offer some insight or whatever, and we'll always be willing to share frustrations with the open meeting law with you.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Thanks very much, Jeff. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Next up, now we are to public comments on the business agenda. And anybody in the room? Yes, sir, Mr. Lear.
Good evening, Bob Lear, 296 Main Street, which happens to be directly across the street from the school street sidewalk proposal that you'll hear about later. I look out there every day and see imminent disasters because people come zipping around that curve, don't realize it is a reduced radius curve, and they swerve out into the middle of the street. And the idea is that having a crosswalk there will at least alert folks from out of town that something might be happening in that part of the city or town and slow down a little bit. I don't see there's anything controversial about doing that. I think it's a perfectly appropriate place for a crosswalk anyway, because hordes of people beginning last weekend walked down the street to get to the beach. So I'm firmly in support of it and probably have observed it more than anybody else that's around. So I'd appreciate your support of that too.
Thanks, Bob. Anybody else in the room here? I see Ms. Gibbs online, I think.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make some comments and recommendations on the disposing of deceased mammals, marine mammals. I think these are basically process and organization in terms of the way it's set up administrative. And I think the easiest thing to do is I'd just like to quickly go through the proposal. Under the purpose, this has to be kind of user-friendly for people who are either primarily private property owners, because there's a differentiation between private and municipal property. So at the top it says for deceased marine mammals, and it says dead seals, whales, and dolphins. I think sharks should be added to that because they will wash up, and I assume they're considered marine mammals. And then I would like, in the ensuring proper handling, sanitation, public sensitivity, conservation, to add public health in there, because there is a definite public health issue for people who might come in contact. And under the scope, it says the predominant mammal species discovered deceased on beaches are seals. Therefore, marine mammals are hereafter referred to as dead seals in this policy for simplification. I think that is the exact opposite of the way it should be. That's going to be very confusing. As you read through the rest of it, it always refers to only dead seals. So anybody reading it is going to say, well, I have a whale on my property. So does this not apply? So I would hope that you do the reverse, and throughout the document, you refer to marine mammals and then have it defined at the beginning that it includes those four things. And then again, as we go through, it talks about it has to be reported. So under procedure on the second page, upon discovering a deceased, I would hope it says marine mammal, staff or beachgoers should report it to Public Works. And then the DPW will determine at that point if it's on town property or private property. And then it says if it's on town property, the DPW will call IFAW. And then members of IFAW will be dispatched and come out and do a necroscopy. I guess my first question is, regardless of where it ends up on shore, through pure happenstance, that a private property owner could have a whale on their beach. I guess my question would be, why would you not want to do a necroscopy on that whale as well if you're actually collecting data, wondering what is wrong with the animal? Did they die from disease or was it an accident? My other concern is because of the diseases that can be transmitted if they die of some kind of infection, some are easily transmitted to humans. So I think it would be important, even if it's on private property, to find out what the cause of death was, unless it's obvious that it was, a boating accident. And then after that, it says, if it's located on a private beach, the DPW will inform the reporting party that no further action will be taken by the town. The reporting party might not be the homeowner. So it seems to me that if there's a shark or a whale or anything on a private property owner's property, that the town should be notifying them. They may not be here. And there would be a large animal lying on their beach decomposing. So basically, and then I think that when you go through the process here, there should be two subcategories. One is municipal property and one is private property, because the town takes care of it for anything on our town property. But I have had occasion to have friends who have had situations with dead seals and stuff, and they had no idea who to call. They didn't know what their responsibilities were. And there needs to be a subcategory for private homeowners. Who are they supposed to contact in the town? Because it could be, obviously, it's going to be in conservation area, in a no disturb zone. And so if they have to bury it, do they go before conservation? Do they have to notify conservation? And who is the contact to tell them what they need to do? And the other problem that people had was that they had no idea who to call in terms of contractors that would come in and take care of it for them, the disposal, whether it's burying them or, taking them out to sea. So if there are a list of contractors that would do this, that would be on call, because obviously these situations would be time sensitive, that would be helpful. And the only other concern I have is, I get the public-private, but again, through happenstance, if a whale, I think homeowners can handle pretty much anything besides a whale, but if a whale did wash up, I can't even imagine the cost to a taxpayer through no fault of their own to either have to bury a whale or to drag it out to sea, which is what the town does, according to this, on municipal property. So I would like to think that there is some kind of an arrangement that can be made for homeowners. I don't live on the beach, so this is not my problem, but I can anticipate. So those are basically, I think it has to be set up so it's more user-friendly, and that they understand that this isn't just about seals, and that's why it has to say marine mammals, because there are 4 different categories. And to rework it and just kind of put yourselves in the position of a novice who happens to find out they have this thing on their beach, and the concern about infection and public health for transmittable diseases. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Anyone else in the online? Do we have anybody else? Okay. So we will move to the business agenda itself, and we will start with the application to use town property, Oyster Pond Beach, from the Wicked Wavy Swim School. Do we have someone here to present, please? Hi. Welcome.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Thanks, Amy.
My name is Sam Barnard. I'm here on behalf of Wicked Wavy Swim School, asking for permission to use Oyster Pond Beach Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoons. It's the same as it was last year. I'm not sure if you guys remember, so I'd be happy to go into more detail. But we asked for permission to have a swim camp. My partner, Brooke, who is unable to make it tonight, so we can reach more than one child or 2 children at a time by doing a swim camp. And I have the specific dates and times if you guys want or need them. But basically that's it. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
The dates and times we have in front of us are July 24th to July 5th, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from 1 to 4, and then July 8th through August 16, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from 2 to 5, and then August 19 to August 30, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from 1 to 4.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Questions from the board? Shireen?
Hi, Sam. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
So last year you did the program and it was successful.
Yeah.
But this year you want to do a camp versus private lessons, or was it a
No,
camp
it's
last year?
As well as. So
As well as.
Brooke and I do private lessons.
Okay.
Earlier in the morning through the week. And then we do our swim camp Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoons,
Okay.
just to reach like more community members who want to learn how to swim.
What's the age group?
We do 4 to 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many children are you expecting into a camp? I mean, there must be some rules around how many children.
Yeah,
we can-
so Brooke and I do 3 kids to 1 instructor. So we have like 6 kids in each kind of lesson. And then the 1 to 4 is we do like 30-minute lessons throughout the afternoon. So depending on how many people sign up, that's like our number, how we do it. So we cap it at 6 per lesson,
Okay.
just safety
Of
issues,
course,
obviously.
yes. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think this is a really good service that you're offering
Thank
to
you. I appreciate your support.
children, simply for the fact that, we have so much water around us.
Exactly.
And ducks and things like that.
Yes, for
But
sure.
I'm very supportive of this, and
Thank
that's all the
you.
questions I have right now.
Awesome.
Thanks. Jeff?
I'm very supportive as well. I did take note that your hours of operation do not, well, they work in sync with the park and rec schedule of swimming lessons that we have that have returned this summer, so I think that's thoughtful.
Yes.
But it also provides for the availability of lessons all throughout the days, so I think that's very important as well. So I'm very supportive of, in essence, expanding the opportunity for children to
Yeah,
learn how to
for
swim.
sure.
So
Yeah,
I'm-
awesome. Thank you so much.
You have, I read the agreement, we read the agreement for the for a licensing agreement to use those premises, use Oyster Pond, and it looks pretty tight. I know we agreed to it last year as well. So I wish you well.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Jeff. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, go ahead. Mark.
Sam, I mean, I've known Sam for a long time, and no, I think it's great you guys are doing this for a second year.
Thank
It was
you.
successful last year. You have been willing to work with the Park and Rec department to kind of work out the schedule,
Yep.
which we appreciate. I think it's very important that you have the ability to teach kids how to swim in the environment we live in.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
swim lessons at Oyster Pond is frankly a rite of passage for anyone who
I
spent
agree.
any time in Chatham. So, talk a little bit about kind of the Give Back program, how you for like,
Okay.
how you're modeling your program a little bit.
Yeah, so as you all know, when you use town property, you have to give back 10% of what you make. So Brooke and I, our first summer that we did swim camp, we kind of had a little deal. So we actually donated that 10% to the Monomoy Youth Services to be able to reach maybe a lower income community or families that their parents might work all day long and either don't have access to a pool or don't have the time to bring their kids to a midday swim lesson when they're at work all day. So we do, last summer it was Monday afternoons, I believe, or Wednesdays, I don't really remember, from 5 to 6 p.m. with the Monomoy Youth Service. And Teresa, who is amazing, would bring dinner for the families. So we would teach our lesson, and then we'd have like pizza with the kids on the beach, and their families would be able to come. And last summer ended up being closer to 20% what we donated, so even more than was asked of us, which we're obviously fine with because Brooke and I are also locals in the community and want to give back. And so we're doing that again this year. We're going to do it Mondays from 5 to 6 p.m., July 8th through the 26th. I'm not sure if that was on there, but we had it in our PTU form. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's like our kind of, I don't want to call it a deal, but like our kind of trade with the town almost, if you will. And it's so much fun, and the kids love it. And Brooke and I both work, she works at Chatham Elementary, and I work at Harwich Elementary, so we know so many of the kids. So all year, they're like, when are swim lessons going to start? It's just so much fun. So yeah, that's like, as Corey said, what we do with the Monomoy Youth Services. Yeah.
Were you going to say something?
I was just going to make a motion, but if you.
I was just going to say I'm strongly in support of
Thank
it.
you.
I'm not as well aware of it as my friends here. I think it's terrific. I'm curious to know, ballpark, how many kids are among the ones that you're in effect giving the swim lessons away to?
I believe last summer was around 60 kids. We had 2 different sessions. So one session was the first half of the summer, and the second was the latter half of the summer. just so that all the kids that go to the youth program can have a chance to have swim lesson. And we do it for, I think it's 4 weeks each session.
That's
And
phenomenal.
then the hour is 30 minutes are like the first half of the kids, and then the second 30 minutes is another group of kids.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate the
I will
support.
welcome a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the Wicked Wavy Swim School License Agreement.
Go ahead. Second.
All those in favor, Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
Ms. Davis.
Aye.
And Mr. Shell says aye. Thanks very
Awesome.
much.
Thank
and
you.
good
I
luck
really
with it all.
appreciate it. You're all welcome to come and hang out at Oyster Pond during swim camp. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Okay, next item, application for one-day entertainment licenses by the Chatham Marconi Maritime Center.
Good evening. I'm Bob Fishback, President of the Board of Chatham Marconi, and your tenant, which is like one of the second reason I'm here. As you know, maybe remember, we didn't do anything last summer, but 2 summers ago we started a program called Music on the Veranda, where we did acts, if you will, had performers on the either the front porch of 831 Orleans Road, the old Marconi Hotel, or immediately on the lawn. It was mainly an event for members of Chatham Marconi as a member benefit, but it's also open to the public. And that's partly because it's your front lawn, and it's partly to get us in a position where more people are introduced to Chatham Marconi and come over and see what we do and see that there is indeed life in North Chatham. So we have, this year we have set up 6 evenings. We've coordinated with pretty much everybody in town to avoid something else going on that night. We couldn't arrange to move the Harwichport evening music thing that they do over there. But of course, as you know, you don't need a passport to go there. You do need a visa to go to Harwichport, right? So, but we're keeping this fairly low key. It'll be free with a donation requested from the public, and as I said, as a member benefit for our members. We neither the Rolling Stones nor Taylor Swift were available. Those are the 2 open dates that we're trying to backfill. But we're keeping it fairly small. Either individual performers or small acts, so that we don't make a whole lot of noise. We have to make enough noise to overcome the traffic noise that's going by on Route 28, but not enough to annoy anybody. The closest neighbor on that diagram is off on the upper right is Dominic Bareffi in the house immediately adjacent. So the first thing I did was check with Dominic, not just for this, but also for all the other events like the summer STEM things that we do out on the lawn and make the kids make noise and so forth, make sure he's okay with it. So basically, I'm just asking permission, A, to have 6 individual music events at Chatham Marconi, and you're welcome to come, please do, and B, for permission to use your lawn.
Well, thank you very much. That's a very generous invitation. Does anybody want to comment on it or otherwise?
I would like to,
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Hi, Bob, how are you?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. So you don't have no plans or no requests for fire pits or anything over there?
No fire pits,
okay.
no fire
amplifiers.
pits, no fireworks.
Anyway, I'm very supportive. You guys do a great job over there. The whole program is wonderful. And you certainly
Well, thank you.
have my support, and I will make a motion if that's okay with everybody. I move to grant a one-day entertainment permit to the Chatham Marconi Maritime Center for Music on the Veranda on June 26th, July 17th, July 24th, August 7th, August 14th, and August 28th, 2024, from 4:30 to 6 p.m. at 831 Orleans Road.
Second.
All those in favor, Mr. Metters.
Aye.
And Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
And Ms. Davis.
Aye.
And Mr. Shell says aye with great thanks, and I'm going to be there at least once.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. The next one is the deceased marine mammals disposition policy, and I will turn it over to the town manager, Jill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what you have before you is a policy that was vetted between the Department of Natural Resources, Community Services, and DPW, Department of Public Works. And it basically reflects the current practices of the departments in response to notifications. But we found that there really wasn't anything on the website that showed what to do if there is a deceased mammal on either private property or the town beaches. So as you had previewed with our earlier comments, we found that there's probably about 5 or 6 dead seals of recent this spring that the DPW had to respond to. And of course, they took care of them appropriately. And as I had mentioned, this basically reflects current practice. So happy to answer any questions or receive any input. I don't have it written as a first reading, but certainly welcome to have comments and bring it back to the board for final approval if you feel more comfortable.
Yeah, go ahead, Corey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two comments. One is I do agree with the previous speaker about using the term marine mammals. I think just for consistency, I don't think it would complicate the draft, so I would stick with the term marine mammals to cover seals, sharks, whales, etc. So I am looking for, I'm going to ask this in a very specific way, because growing up in South Chatham, there was an area that we have seen whales and seals and stuff wash up on shore. And I'm just trying to think of the logistics of it when it's identified. So in South Chatham, you got the Cockle Beach, go out to the jetty, heading into Taylor's Pond area, that flat, as the tide changes, there have been, carcasses of seals out there on the flats. I guess, can you kind of clarify some of the logistics of how is that going to be responded? Are we going to let the tide kind of take care of it? If it's going to be buried, how are we accessing it via boat? Because you really can't get there by vehicle per se. I guess, obviously if it washes up on the shore, we understand the procedure. Private property, public property, whatever. But some of the more uniquer areas that might have a little more logistical hurdles to deal with, has there been thought put into how to tackle some of that kind of stuff?
I know there was some discussion. I don't have an answer right now. We can get back to you about exactly how the call would be answered and triage per se. So I can get back with DPW on that and report back.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Shireen.
Thanks. Jill, did you say the Department of Health, the Health Division was engaged in the discussion of handling the deceased carcasses?
Yes, definitely through Greg Berman, and I had to just confirm if Judy Georgia was involved.
Oh, good, okay. So I have a couple of comments just to, I do agree with Ms. Gibbs about the idea that the language here should be consistent with marine mammal and not dead seal. I think it's really important the health and safety protocols that should be spelled out on handling a deceased or carcass of a marine mammal, because they have so many diseases that we don't know about. There's a lot of fishermen that have done training with permitted authorities to know how to handle a seal if they get it in any of their fishing gear. One of the things that I want to just take note, it's not always happens that IFA will do a necros. I can't say the word. You know what I mean. Then, yeah, they don't always. So maybe that should that language should be reflected in the document, just to say potentially doing their assessment or however. And I was just wondering if you did vet all this protocol by IFA, because they are a permitted authority to handle marine mammals live marine mammals, but also, dead, whether they had a look at it to see that it complies with the Marine Mammal Protection Act. That would just be some of my thoughts, just to make sure that we're doing it the right way and the legal way. That's all I really have. Thanks.
Jeff?
Yeah, I echo Ms. Davis's comments, both in terms of the language, changing dead seals, some marine mammals. I think that's a point well taken by Ms. Gibbs. And I also, I think Shereen has a great point. I would call IFA and say what the normal procedure and protocol is, and do they have good input on Corey's example, et cetera, et cetera. So just a little bit more input. I'm a little concerned that if they do want to do a necropsy on a marine mammal and they kind of pick and choose whether they're going to pick and choose on a private piece of private property or on a public property, we're saying, yes, we're going to make it available and certainly let you know that a marine mammal's died on public property, town-owned property, but I think we should have guidance at least for those private property owners if a marine mammal should wash up on their property, some kind of guidance on, hey, this is what you do. Call IFA, arrange for burial, removal, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we need a little bit more, skin on the bone, muscle on the bone there in terms of guidance for the private property owner. I don't think it's fair to just leave them out there hanging.
So,
I think we need a second reading.
that probably solves my problem, is a second reading. I will say, this is something that is relatively unfamiliar to me, but in terms of reading this and understanding what does it mean, I think Ms. Gibbs' comments are well taken. I didn't hear anything that I thought, no, I can understand why that wouldn't be done. But clarity with respect to if there is a real serious differential between how we handle a carcass on our property, on town property versus private property, I would agree with Jeff that we need a real clear identification of the procedures, and also it would be helpful if for the private property owner what the resources are that they can have access to or refer to deal with the problem. And I guess I'll leave it at that.
Yep, great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next case, the Traffic Safety Committee, Lieutenant Goddard has a recommendation from the Traffic Safety Committee. Welcome.
Good evening. So the Traffic Safety Committee received a request via the Old Village Association for the installation of a crosswalk on School Street right at the Main Street intersection. Their stated goal was to provide extra pedestrian safety by slowing down traffic turning onto School Street. Their request prompted a little deeper examination into that particular intersection, which yielded some interesting results. One is that the vegetation along the southwest corner that was a major visual block has been removed by the construction that's been done on that corner. You can see all the construction machinery and so forth there. So that's improved the sight lines there. And recent improvements to the sidewalks have actually installed the ADA compliant ramps and the tactile yellow pads at the beginning and end of each of those sidewalks. So the request here is twofold. One is to provide pedestrian safety going across that crosswalk between the two sidewalks, and second, to give drivers coming off of Main Street onto School Street something visual to let them know that there are pedestrians there in that area and might be approaching that intersection, and just kind of slow their turn going around the corner. So the request is to install that crosswalk at that location, and really all that would be required for installation would be the painting of the lines. Everything else is already in place, and all the hard work has already been done.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
So moved.
Second, I think it's a very reasonable request.
Oh, no, so moved.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed. This is a classic no-brainer.
Yep.
Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
And Ms. Davis.
Aye.
And Mr. Shell says aye. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appointments. We have one appointment for the Human Services Committee, which is, bear with me, we are considering the appointment of William Bystrom for a seat on the Human Services Committee. He was interviewed by the Select Board on May 9, And there are currently 2 open seats, one with a term ending June 30, 2025, and one with a term ending June 30, 2026.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Dykens.
I move to appoint William Bystrom as a member of the Human Services Committee until June 30th, 2026, until sooner revoked or a successor is appointed.
I'm going to take the privilege of seconding that. Thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
And Ms. Davis.
Aye.
And Mr. Shell says aye. Thank you very much. Ms. Goldsmith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So before you tonight, you have the town manager's monthly report for April, as well as a few current items. And I wanted to highlight the employee years of service for June, as I do every month. And one person who's not on here, and we're very sorry about it, but Diane Langlois, she's celebrating her 36th-year anniversary with the town in Natural Resources as the department coordinator, and you've seen her many times working with the Board of Health. So we extended our apologies, and we're really excited to celebrate her and her 36 years. John Whittle, Officer John Whittle, who had retired, has joined us back again as a reserve officer, and the chief wanted to make sure that we recognized him for his 37 years of services, but he did technically retire and come back, but still always a pleasure to have people return, especially with John being so cheery. And then looking at the years of service, definitely our firefighters with Tim Hunter at 24 years. And I wanted to do a shout out to Brian Powers. He's our highway laborer. He's been here for 19 years. He's the guy downtown who is just so cheerful. He's picking up trash. He's giving people directions. He'll talk about his yoga classes, and he's just an overall really cool guy. And so many times he's there before anyone's on Main Street. And I saw him this morning, and when I saw that we're celebrating him, I just wanted to note that. So yay him. And then every other town employee is highly valued, going down to Tom Barr for 1 year of service. Our own Kathy Lewis has been here a full year. That went by so quickly, as well as the health inspectors, police sergeants, and so forth, moving on up through longevity. And then this report has our introductions of the new hires. It was very active. We were very active in April and May, scoring new members to Team Chatham. And so you've seen these individually, but we have our housing inspector, Karen, who's helping with the health division and the short-term rentals registration and inspections. We have our adult behavioral community service clinician, Diane Nash, who I believe you've met. I'm certainly planning on bringing her back to the board to talk about the services that she's been providing with adult behavioral health for the community services department, also working with the police department, and then we're still recruiting for the youth clinician. And then we had a promotion of Crystal Keon to the wetlands permitting coordinator. And then we've had 2 new police officers entering the where are they? They're entering the training academy, the police training council. One is Jordan Glagliardi, a person who known all along she wants to be a police officer, and it comes from a family of police officers that she just graduated from Fitchburg State. And then Joseph Plagliardo, many of you know him from around town. He's headed security for the Chatham Squire, and he's just very excited to begin the Holyoke, Massachusetts Police Training Council, staying with some family members there. So we're very excited to have the 2 of them. We have our Council on Aging Outreach Coordinator, Carrie Kelly. She's been very active in, again, hopefully either doing a Chatham TV special on the services that she's doing, or bring her to the board for an introduction and just announcements of what she's working on and how she can best help all of our community members. And then we have our Police Department Administrative Assistant, Christine Burak. We got her from the DA's office. We're very excited. And then our Council on Aging Department Assistant, Alexis Weglars. Many people might know her from working at Larry's PX for many years. So put herself through school, and she's back. And she started and is doing a really great job. And then you saw Anna today announcing the Council on Aging 50th year anniversary. She does a lot of great programs, interviews, and she's highlighted in the flash. So wanted to put that out there, must-see TV. And then some information about accessing post-town meeting materials, the scorecard, the town meeting recording that we have, and then the usual how to stay connected in our communications for emergency notifications and so forth. Following this transmittal, each department has a lot to offer, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Shell, thank you. Jill, great to see the hires. Great to see the hires. They look like great hires. I'm sure they're excited about starting, or I think some of them have been here a little bit, but it's really good to see the hiring going on. Thank you. Good. And this is a great report. I mean, I haven't gone through it line by line this time, but I'll tell you right now, as a resource, it's a great resource for townsfolk, voters, residents, non-residents, et cetera. Excellent.
Yeah, amen.
Same thing, yes. Great job.
Corey?
No, agreed,
Okay.
fully agreed.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's great. If there's nothing further,
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
all those in favor, Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
And Ms. Davis.
Aye.
And Mr. Shell says aye. We are adjourned at 7:02.